Hello again, YouTube. My name is Ed, and this is the Rot Gut Review. I hope you're doing wonderfully today, because I know I am. I'm here with a new scotch, and new scotches always make me happy. I especially like it when I get new scotches for free, which is what happened with this Dewar's Ilegal Smooth. And I have to thank my good friend Kentrell for helping me get this bottle. So thank you so much, Kentrell. Now I know last time I declared Eli Cook a Lord of Rot Gut for helping me get a bottle. And I was thinking, I don't want to repeat titles. I know other whiskey tube shows, whenever someone gives them something, they have a little pre-cut out thing. I like Whiskey Vault, Magnificent Bastard, all that. But I was thinking, I want to come up with individual titles for everyone who gives me something very generous. So if Eli Cook is the Lord of Rot Gut, I'm going to declare Kentrell the Prime Minister of Rot Gut. All hail Prime Minister Kentrell of Rot Gut. Cheers. But anyway, now that I'm done ripping off the Whiskey Vault, let's hit the intro and get those details on Dewar's Ilegal Smooth. Alright, so we got a little Dewar's to review today. And I'm sure most of you probably have seen Dewar's on liquor store shelves. You've tried Dewar's at some point in your life. It's kind of a ubiquitous blended Scotch whiskey. It's pretty much everywhere. And it's cheap, and it's easygoing, and, you can mix it with anything, pretty much. It was actually founded in 1846 in Perth, Scotland, by a gentleman by the name of John Dewar. John Dewar was actually the owner of a wine and spirits shop who started blending his own whiskeys that he brought into the shop. That's actually how a lot of blended Scotch brands started. There would be a local grocer or merchant who would purchase barrels of whiskey from a distillery, and in order to make a more consistent product, they would start to blend them themselves. And eventually, many of these brands got so popular, they started selling it across the world. So this is a blended Scotch. So it's actually a blend of grain whiskey, lighter, little less flavor, but smooth, with single malt whiskey, which generally is more flavorful. But what's behind this name, Ilegal Smooth? Well, let me tell you, Dewar's, when they made this batch, their smoothness, the smoothness of this whiskey was so smooth that it was actually declared illegal in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom has laws about how smooth you can be on their soil, which is why I'm banned from the country. I'm sorry, that was a long setup for not a very good joke. But the real reason is that this edition of Dewar's has been finished in Ilegal Mezcal casks. So a finished whiskey is something that's been maturing in a barrel for many years. Once that maturation is done, they take it out of that first barrel and they put it into a new barrel, a different kind of barrel, something that's going to give it a different kind of flavor. Generally, it's not in that second barrel for very long. It might be 6 months, a year, not too long. That's why it's just called finishing. So to age their whiskey in Scotland, they can use virgin oak, or they can use something that has held another spirit already. Generally, that's bourbon or sherry. Those are the most commonplace. But Scotch producers are using all kinds of crazy barrels to finish their whiskey these days. And part of that is because back in 2019, the Scotch Whisky Association, which is the trade group for Scotch whiskey, loosened up some of their rules about what you could age whiskey in. The SWA is a little stodgy and conservative and very intent on preserving the cultural legacy of Scotch. Sometimes to the point of not embracing innovation. However, in this case, they said, hey, Okay, let's open it up a little bit. People can start finishing their whiskeys in all sorts of different things so long as the spirit that was originally in the barrel is traditionally aged in oak barrels. So that opened the door to fun things like this guy, a Scotch aged in mezcal. For those of you who might not know, mezcal is kind of like the cousin to tequila. It's made out of agave, much like tequila. However, it tends to be a little bit smokier. They like to char that agave, give it a nice smoky, earthy flavor. So for those of you who like peated Scotch, you might also like mezcal. And this is only one type in the series of finishes that Dewar's is doing. They've got a Japanese smooth that was finished in Mizunara. They've got Portuguese smooth, obviously finished in port. And they have Caribbean smooth, which was finished in rum. So Dewar's is known for being a pretty honey, fruity, caramely blended Scotch, right? Pretty standard flavors. So this is going to be interesting to see how it takes on the mezcal flavor and to what degree it takes on that herbaceous, smoky vegetalness. But let's see what this mixing of cultures and spirits hath wrought. And you know how it goes. We start with the nose. You know, this nose is pretty standard Dewar's, I think. You know, it's honey. It's kind of pineapple-y, got that fresh, bright pineapple fruit. There's a hint of caramel and just a little bit of something herbal there. Just a touch. Just a little itty-bitty bit. So if that's coming from the mezcal, it's not a big influence. It's not a really heavy mezcal smell. It's kind of like you took that honeyed, pineapple-y, fruity Dewar's and you just put a drop of aloe vera in it. Just like a drop of aloe vera. I don't know if you want to do that in real life, but yeah, that's kind of what it smells like. I don't know, don't people drink aloe vera drinks? Isn't that a thing? Maybe we could make a cocktail out of that with this Dewar's. But I'm not getting a lot of smoke. I'm not getting a lot of that kind of charred agave flavor. And maybe that's because I'm a big peat head. I drink a lot of peat. I'm used to really, really smoky whiskeys. So this is more subtle. I'm not getting the smoke from that mezcal, really. But let's get a taste, hey? Okay. Yeah, there's a touch of smoke here. There's a little touch of that smokiness. And there is a kind of that vegetal agave flavor. On the finish particularly, I get that little spike of agave. But this is not a really herbaceous, spicy, smoky, mezcal influenced Scotch. This is more of a Scotch with just a drop, just a hint of that mezcal. I will say, especially that finish, it's more full-bodied than your average Dewar's, your regular old Dewar's. There is a little bit more earthiness there. There's a little bit more of that kind of charred, smoky taste. Just enough to kind of, really lay the foundation and have those sweet flavors kind of pile on top. But if you're a big mezcal fan and you're thinking, oh, this is going to be, the mezcal kind of way I'm going to get into Scotch, I guess, yeah, that I could see you kind of liking this. Although if you're a mezcal fan, I think you probably are going to like Islay single malt better. Now, however, if you're a Scotch fan, a blended Scotch fan, who's thinking this is maybe a gateway into the world of mezcal and agave spirits, wow, I can talk. I think that's more of what I'm thinking this is. This is easygoing, smooth. It's very much a blended Scotch, right? I mean, it says smooth right on the label. And whatever you think of the word smooth to describe whiskey, I mean, it certainly lacks descriptive power. However, that's what this is. This is a pretty easygoing blended Scotch for the most part. If you want to get a little bit more smokiness, kind of edge into that mezcal kind of region, yeah, okay. If you're coming from blended Scotch, that's a good way to go. That's not a bad way to go. You're going to get just a little bit of that mezcal flavor. Plus, I looked it up. In my local area, this is selling for about $19 to $22, something like that. So, yeah, it's pretty good for that price point, I gotta say. For a Dewar's product at that $19, $20 range, this is not bad. I do think you could probably make this into some interesting cocktails. You know, like a Rob Roy maybe. This could be good in a Rob Roy. So I guess what I'm saying is that if you're a big hardcore smoky fan, this isn't for you. It wasn't meant for you. And that's totally fine. If you're someone who just wants to start to get into that kind of flavor, not a bad way to go. Not a bad way to go. Plus, pretty good value. I will say, 20 bucks, they made a pretty decent whiskey for 20 bucks here. There's a lot worse whiskeys at $20, for sure. But this has been the Rot Gut Review, and actually, this review kind of makes me want to start getting into some more agave spirits. I know I pretty much only do whiskey on here, but I think maybe in the near future I'll slip some mezcals and some tequilas in too, because that could be fun. That could be fun. But before that, please subscribe, like, all of that. But most importantly, make sure to stay healthy, stay safe, and stay rotten. Cheers, everybody.